All right. Welcome back, everyone. You're looking at Generation to Generation Cowboys and Sports Talks. We are live and we got breaking news. A lot of you already know what the breaking news is, but uh, that's what this live is going to be about. We're going to talk about the breaking news. So I'm going to let this intro roll and then we'll get straight into it. Generation to Generation Cowboys and Sports Talk. My dad, my partner, my co-host, Cowboy Joe 64.
I am your father.
Just to get the Cowboys two good games to hopefully understand that they need to go receiver and go high with this next pick.
Yeah, yeah, that's really what this is going to be about. All right. So, breaking news, man. We got Mike McCarthy said no, and he's back. I mean, and he will not be coming back. And so, you know, my theory is that first of all, we went over this a couple times, and we've theorized all of these scenarios in our heads. So, my thing was that, um, this needed to happen, and so that's another thing that needs to happen too. Now, I think for the greater good, um, Kellen needs to get hired by somebody else. Kellen needs to get hired by somebody else, and that'll be the second part of this that happens. That'll be good for us. But I think that what it came down to now, it's a few rumors out there, and they said so. We didn't know that McCarthy made $8 million this year. We didn't know that until today. And then also, um, James Slater said it wasn't a deal. It wasn't a matter of money. It was a matter of years. So Jerry and Steven wanted to give McCarthy 1 or 2 years with the option on the second or third year. I don't remember which one it was. And McCarthy wanted more. And I would imagine that McCarthy wanted more dealings as far as running the franchise, as far as, using utilizing free agency, as far as draft choice, as far as how the cap is managed. And they didn't work out a deal. So I'm glad that that took place. I'm glad that McCarthy didn't just, cave and just take the job, because that's what they want. They want someone that's just that they can just offer peanuts, and that they can just say, "Hey, this is what we're offering, and we want you to take this." And we need someone to may help them realize that this is unrealistic and this is not the way that you run an organization. And so I'm kind of glad that McCarthy turned it down. What do you think about it?
So, as we talked about on our earlier shows, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
So we thought it was a possibility that McCarthy would just tell him no El Paso, as Jerry said a few years back, that he was going to just not take the job, especially the money part. That 8 million thing, there was a couple of people talking about that today. They were not able to confirm that. So I think what we kind of learning on these coaching salaries, we probably need to just kind of look at some of the sourcing, because Brian Broaddus, shout out to Broaddus, he was saying the same thing. His understanding was McCarthy was making 4.5 million, and then we saw that report about 8 million. So they still not really clear on that. But I think what it comes down to is McCarthy wanted more years for him and his coaches so they could just have some job security. And Jerry probably wanted to do like a 2-year extension with the third year option, something like that. So that's probably really what made the deal fall through. So not surprised if we said before he's got a new agent. His agent is a hardball agent. They were not going to just come in there and say, "Hey, you can just give us whatever." So at the end of the day, that's probably what happened. They just said, "Hey, this is what we want to do, and this is what we want." And Jerry is just not impressed with Mike McCarthy. Jerry is not impressed with a lot of coaches. Coaching is not important to him. So he probably looks at whatever he paid Mark McCarthy, it wasn't worth it to him. So that's what probably made the deal fall through.
Okay, yeah, no, I agree with it. I agree with that totally. We've been talking about this. Now I'm gonna read you what I wrote, and I'm new to this blogging thing, but I've been blogging a lot, especially on Reddit and all of the other places, and I've been getting a lot of likes. I've been getting a lot of traction, a lot of likes. This post that I made last night has 776 likes. So this is what I posted on Reddit last night. I said, people think the Joneses are signing contracts last minute so they can stay relevant in the media. No, they do stay relevant in the media because they wait last minute, but they wait to the last minute because they are so stupid that they think that this is actually the right way to do things, even though they haven't had success or a successful program in 30 years. They really think in their mind that they are doing the right thing. So Michael's first year being eligible to sign an extension was last year. The majority of the guys that was drafted with Micah are already signed. Patrick Surtain, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it's a slew of other guys. So why isn't Micah already signed? And what do you? That's part one. So what are you thinking? Why is Micah not already signed? How can they make that make sense if they are not already um making the same mistakes that they've been making?
So good point. So some of the content creators today they were posting that the Cowboys are making these moves or they do the things the way that they do because of marketing and media. So my pushback on that was they're not doing these things for marketing and media attention. The things they're doing, they're just incompetent. This is what they do. The salary cap, they're not mismanaging the salary cap for media attention. They just don't know how to manage the cap. The Eagles, the 49ers, the Chiefs, they know how to manage the cap, the Ravens. So they just manage the cap. So the Cowboys are not doing that to get attention. The same with not signing free agents. They're not disregarding the free agency period to get media attention. They just don't know how to do free agents.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing with McCarthy, they didn't set this up to get media attention. They really don't know what they're doing, and people need to stop saying that they're doing these things for media and marketing. That's not what's happening, folks. These things are happening because they're just not good at running a franchise. That's what's happening.
They really thought that McCarthy was going to come back this year. That's what they thought. They really thought that. And so another thing is like Derrick Henry's cap number was 5 million this year. So when Will McClay and Steven and Jerry come out and say that they cannot afford him, we know for a fact that that is incorrect. They are literally just saying something that is totally incorrect. That was just not true. They did not want to sign Derrick Henry. They didn't want to sign anybody. That's the reason why they didn't do it. It wasn't because of they couldn't afford him. And then, by the way, we see how Derrick Henry and Saquon has made a hell of a difference with the Eagles and
Oh,
with the
I,
Ravens.
I can name 8 backs that are not on their level that made a difference with their teams this year,
Oh
but
yeah.
they didn't get signed here
Mm-hmm.
because they're just not savvy enough to get those deals done. So a lot of times what they do because they just don't really know how to do these things, they just take their hands off. They
Yeah.
just say, we're going to do the easy thing. So it's easy to go on vacation when free agency starts because you really don't know how to manage free agency. It's easy for you not to sign or call Derrick Henry because over here on this report right here, you got to go in and do the work to fit him in your cap and figure that out. They don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to sign Kellen Moore because he's gonna
Oh,
take less money, and he's a part of the family, and he's already been, he's already here. They don't really have to interview him. He's part of the family. He's been here. He's gonna let Jerry he's a yes man to Jerry, and he's mediocre, and that's falls right in their category. See, like Mike Fisher, shout out to Mike Fisher. He made a good point today. The Cowboys generally do two things. They hire people that are in their family, or they hire someone that, I think the other thing he said was someone that is cheap or something like
uh,
that. But
well,
what
he,
did
he
he
said
say?
they hire people that have been coaches before and that have had success.
Yeah,
And
hands on the
where
wall.
where I push back on that is he's right, except for Wade Phillips, because Wade Phillips had a job with Denver and Buffalo as a head coach. He got fired from both jobs,
Well,
and they hired Wade.
Wade Phillips was in the category of family,
Um, a little bit,
according
but
to Mike Fisher.
but in general, franchises will, if they're going to hire a pre-existing coach, it's like a pre-existing condition or something like that, I should say. It's going to be somebody that has success. They got rings. They've been in championship games, and that wasn't Wade Phillips. So just FYI, they will go hire a tenured coach. Now, if you hire like a John Gruden or a Mike McCarthy, obviously they won championships. So that's kind of, if you want to go down that road, that's the way to go. But it didn't work out this time, and there's also this talk about Jason Witten.
Oh Lord,
So
no.
so let's get this on record right now. Now, Brian Broaddus, shout out to Broaddus. He talked about something tonight that he heard. Well, two things Broaddus said today I thought was very intriguing. And Broaddus is connected. Shout out to Broaddus. He was very high on them bringing in Aaron Glenn and interviewing him. If Broaddus said if it was his job to post, he absolutely would consider very strongly Aaron Glenn. But he also heard tonight about Rich Bisaccia, the special teams coach. Now, the reference point on that is John Harbaugh, when he got hired for the Ravens, he was a special teams coach. So you can say that there is some, history of teams doing that. But here's the catch to that. This is exactly what Jerry would do. We'll come back to Kellen Moore in just a minute. There's also this talk about Jason Witten. What Jerry would absolutely do is hire Rick Bisaccia and tell him we're hiring Jason Witten. Jason Witten is over here, the coach in waiting. That's what that would be. It'll be Jason Garrett and Wade Phillips all over again. And the football gods hate the coach in waiting thing. It never works. It just poisons your team. But that's the kind of move that Jerry would make.
Also, I just got this message right here. This is a message that I just got. I don't know how accurate this is, and it's coming from A to Z. So A to Z, I mean, I don't know if you wanna,
They're legit.
how okay, yeah. A to Z said that it's saying that Cowboys owner Jerry Jones has spoken with Colorado head coach Deion Sanders about the team head coaching vacancy, and discussions are expected to continue regarding the possibility of him becoming the next head coach in Dallas.
Now, what you got to do with that story is go see who else is reporting it. So,
Yeah,
A to Z is the organization that Will Steele worked for.
yeah, I
So
know.
shout out to Will.
Right,
So these are the kind of things that we're gonna hear, and I will caution Cowboy fans. A lot of stuff,
Kevin just said it's on all major platforms.
Kevin, he did okay. So I will caution Cowboy fans on one thing, and we talked about this on our show. A lot of times the agents will put this stuff out just to kind of see what's happening out there. So Dion. So let's talk about Kellen. Let's get this out the way. Okay.
It's on Bleacher Report.
Okay. So let's go back to Kellen uh, before we lose our train of thought. Okay. Here's why you don't hire Kellen. Okay. Because he's not going to command the room. He runs a goofy offense. We can just call it that. If you go back and watch the first two 49er playoff games that we played, the boombox game, the one where Debo came in with the boombox, it was an absolutely winnable game. The reason we lost that game is because of Kellen was just doing goofy stuff from start to finish. Okay. The following year, the same thing. So his offense, it's a lot of numbers, a lot of stats, but when it comes down to it, it's not really a good offense, especially in playoff mode. And again, he would just be someone that would feed into all of the things that Jerry wants to thrive on. We wouldn't be doing any free agency. He would be okay with that. The salary cap, they're going to tell Kellen, we don't have any money. You just got what you got. So that's just basically what you're going to have. And it will be just a repeat of Jason Garrett. You had 13 years of Jason Garrett, Wade Phillips. Kellen is just gonna add on to that.
I agree. And then, Kellen, really with me, And I kind of swayed. It's not necessarily just it's not with me. It's not necessarily the play calling. It's everything else because I feel like he has grown as a play caller. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, he has, and he has the Eagles looking okay right now. But really, what it is with me is just what you just said. It's all the other stuff. It's the fact that he would just be a yes man, and he would let Jerry just and Steven and Will just draft whoever. He wouldn't say anything about that. He would take less money. He wouldn't have any input on free agency at all. They wouldn't even tell him that they don't have no money. They would just they would just tell him that's not your lane, pal. So, and he would be okay with that. He's a new coach that doesn't have he's never been a head coach. And so
Hmm.
he would be okay with some of the stuff that a veteran coach or someone that commands the room would not be okay with. You have these alpha males and you have beta males and all of that. Kellen is
Yeah.
not an alpha male.
He
So
just wouldn't be
Aaron,
the face. He just wouldn't be the face of your franchise.
no.
And I was going to tell you also the last couple of games, and I've been reading some stuff today from Eagles content creators and their fans.
Yeah.
They are on the edge with Kellen. They're talking about now. Yesterday, what was
He was reading a book on the sideline.
well, yeah, not only that, but offensively, they were just kind of
Dull.
so
They were
Jalen
getting
Hurts.
booed.
Yeah, what was Jalen Hurts passing numbers yesterday? And so they were saying that they were, matter of fact, the content creator that I was following,
Hmm.
they were showing uh, clips of the game where just Eagles receivers are just being covered. Nobody's open. They kept showing it over and over and over. They were running the comeback routes that we saw here that were just a feature of Kellen's offense. So the same things that we were saying when Kellen was here, Eagles fans, I'm telling you right now, if they lose, they got to go to the Super Bowl or bust. Because if they lose a game, he gonna be looking for a job because they're gonna be asking for him to be replaced. And if the head coach gets canned, I don't think it's a guarantee that Kellen will get that job. What's happening with new media and social media? The fans are having a whole lot of say so on what's happening with these teams. And by the way, they said the Chicago Bears fans they had 8,000 fans in Chicago take a survey, and it was like 80% of the fans didn't want McCarthy as a head coach. These franchises they look at that. So I can guarantee you, if they do an 8,000 person survey for Kellen being the head coach of the Eagles, it's going to be 95-5. That's what's going to happen. And if they do
Well,
the same survey here, you're probably going to see the same results.
well, yeah, I agree with you, and I think that Jared and them would be childish, and that would be childish to even interview Kellen.
Well, they're going to interview him. Look, they're going to interview Kellen. They're going to interview Al Harris. They're going to interview Rivera. The usual suspects. They're going to
Now,
interview
what,
now.
are they going to interview Aaron Glenn?
They should. So let me break that down to you. So one of the legacy media people reported today that Jerry made a mistake because he's going to have to wait to after the playoffs to interview coaches now.
Jane said that.
That was Jane. Well, I disagree with that because that's what he needs to do. He needs to take 2 or 3 weeks, even a month, to go through this hiring process that we've been talking about since we started our show. There's no reason for him to rush this. Just wait till the playoffs are over. They need to reach out to Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn and all of the other coaches that are in the playoffs and let their agents know we're not doing anything till the playoffs are over. We want to interview your guy. Let Aaron Glenn know you just chill, do your playoff thing. We're going to interview you. And of
Hmm.
course, the same thing with Kellen. And if it's somebody on the chief staff, this is what they need to do. They need to interview 10 coaches and they need to interview, you know, there's no reason to be in a rush to do this.
Now, why? Now, are we hyping Dion up because Dion has some kind of special offense or something? Because I'm trying to figure out. Besides the fact that him and Shador have been, the dynamic duo. I'm trying to figure out what he would bring to the table without Shador. Because if he was the coach here, we're not. I don't think it's any way
Well,
possible we could get Shador.
well, no. What Dion is gonna bring? First of all, he's a good head. He would be a great head coach. He's gonna be able to relate to the players. He gonna be no nonsense, and then he's smart enough to hire good coaches around him. He's gonna hire a good coordinator, a good defensive coordinator. So yeah, that's the positive you get with Dion. He would be, he would be a good hire. It'll be something that they've never done before.
Yeah, I agree. I just want you to let them know, tell the fans on it. I think that also, man, that would be a turnover. That would be something that is because he command the room. He's a great head coach. He's going to tell them what they should be doing with the cap and with the offense. I mean, with the, not only with
Yeah,
the cap and
he
the
gonna
offense,
keep it a buck in everything he do.
yeah, he gonna be that would be I like Dion. Dion would be my first pick. Aaron Glenn would be my second. Okay. Well, no, Ben Johnson would be my second, and then Aaron Glenn would be my third because they're talking about Aaron Glenn would be bringing in Ben Johnson's I mean homeboys
Some of his proteges, yeah.
yeah. So we will have
And
Ben
then
Johnson
and
sister.
then Aaron Glenn is your defensive coordinator. He's gonna probably call his own plays. So
He know
I
no-
mean, yeah, it would be a terrific hire. There's so many guys that you could talk to. We can talk about the people that you shouldn't be considering. At the top of that list is Kellen. You shouldn't be talking about Jason Witten.
shouldn't
Listen,
be talking about Ron Rivera.
here's the thing. Okay. Um, Shannon Sharp, a Hall of Fame tight end, right? You think he knows the game? You think he will be able to command the room? He was never considered as a head coach for the teams he played for, and there's a reason for that. What's George Kittle's the 49ers? When he retires, the 49ers are not going to be looking at him as a head coach, and don't say, well, Jason Witten has been coaching high school ball. So what? It's like this is what this franchise does. The reason we don't have an NFC championship game in 29 years is because they keep doing the same thing over and over. It's the way they do things. It's the Kellens, the Jason Garrett's, and the Jason Witten. I talked about on our show. I got a top 10 list of Jerry Jones' biggest mistakes. At the top of the list, to me, it's not him firing Jerry. My number one mistake is them not signing not drafting Randy Moss. That's my number one. My other item that's high on my list is when he all but had hired North Turner for the head coaching job. The reason he didn't hire North is because he told North, I got this Tom Landry coaching and waiting over here, Jason Garrett. I want you to bring him in with you and let him call plays. So North is just like, no, hell to the no, we're not doing that. I'm running this team. I'm calling plays. So Jerry was like, no, I think this guy over here is a great head coach in waiting. He's brilliant. This Jason Garrett. So he hired Wade, and then he brought Jason Garrett in as a coach in waiting. That never works. So the big result there, you had 13 years with no NFC championship game, all because he wanted to bring Jason Garrett in as his head coach in waiting. So that's what he's going to try to set up with Witten. If that happens that way, it's a wrap.
What do you think about Bill Barnwell? Is he legit?
Bill Barnwell, I know the name, but I would say
he says Deion Sanders wants to come to the NFL presumably so he can coach his son. Dak Prescott has a $104 million dead cap hit if the Cowboys trade him before June 1 next season.
They're not going to be able to. Is my voice fading out?
Nope.
Okay, they're not going to be able to get Shador. I just don't see it. If they were, if they were maybe drafting 5th or 6th, I don't see how you go from 12 to get up there high enough.
Trading first round picks.
You're not gonna be able. You gotta continue to build your team. No, I don't. I don't see that. No, anything is possible.
Yeah, for sure. And then also, blogging the boys. I'm sure this is okay. Blogging the boys. So this is Jess Hain. He put that while a formal interview hasn't been scheduled yet, there is mutual interest.
With Deion?
Yeah.
I mean, look, they should interview Deion. They should interview Aaron Glenn. They should interview Ben Johnson. We can put the whole list together. They're the Dallas Cowboys. They literally, just to be perfectly honest, They should interview about 12 people for this job.
Man, if they do, man, I'm gonna tell you something. This would be a first. If they interview, if they even interview those people, this would be a first.
And what would
So
happen is if they interview that many people, that's how Mike Tomlin got hired. Mike Tomlin got hired because the Steelers interviewed literally like a dozen people, and they had this one coach that came in and wowed them. They had a Jason Witten guy. He was an offensive line. I think it might have been Mike Munchak. But
Mike
anyway,
Munchak, it was.
he was supposed to get the job. The job was his. So they
He was in the
interviewed
newspaper for getting that job.
all of these coaches, and there was one guy that just knocked their socks off,
And he came in last.
and they interviewed him. Now he did win a Super Bowl. Here lately, he's getting a lot of criticism, which is not his fault. They ain't really getting him any good players. You don't have no quarterback, and it ain't Russell Wilson. They talking about bringing in Aaron Rodgers next. They gonna get the same results. But anyway, just think about that. What if Jerry 10 years ago had just hired this one coach and won one more Super Bowl? We would be at 6 Super Bowls right now.
And then not to mention, I want to say he's had these opportunities to hire this one coach, and he's had them here.
Well, when you hire Wade Phillips and Jason Garrett, just think about that. 13 years. Okay. I'm not gonna tell nobody how old I am, but 13 years is a long time. You had Jason Garrett and Wade Phillips for 13 years. You never made it to an NFC championship game. We talk about analytics on our show all the time. Okay. I work for a $1 billion company. How we just we were so innovative. We just looked at everything, and if we saw something that wasn't right, we fixed it. If we saw trends in the industry, we were just on top of it. Somebody at the Star tonight should be going into Jerry's office and showing him 13 years of Wade Phillips and Jason Garrett and what that was. Tonight, they should be saying to themselves, we're not doing this. It was 13 years and it didn't work.
Now,
Okay.
I'll say this. I'm 35. So that means that the last time that 95, that means that the last time that the Cowboys won a game past the second round, I was 6.
Huh?
So it hasn't worked in 30 years, not 13. It hasn't worked in 30 years. They haven't, they haven't won a game outside of a first round playoff in 30 years. So, I mean,
and it was 3 teams that had made it to an NFC championship game. It was Dallas, Washington, and Detroit. Detroit came off the list last year. Now, Detroit, their franchise over the years, their front office, they always had high picks. They hired terrible coaches like Ron Marinelli, who went 0-16. They mismanaged the picks. But
they had the about face.
They turned it around. They hired Dan Campbell. They have a new general manager. They started like drafting, like they've been hitting their draft picks, man. Now the other team, Washington, there's a possibility they're gonna make the NFC championship game. And I would say this right here. They're going to play Detroit. That might stop them from getting there. If they were playing Philadelphia next week, I would pick Washington to be in the NFC championship game. They can beat Philly. They can beat Detroit too. But that's the harder matchup. Now,
Man,
I'm watching the Rams right now.
Man.
I'm watching the Rams and the Vikings. Listen, I'm watching the Rams and the Vikings. And every time I look at the screen, the Rams got receivers running wide open. It's like nobody in the picture frame.
And how come how come this happens and you're supposed to be a number 1 franchise in the world and you have a Sean McVay tree and you have a Shanahan tree where Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, all of them Shanahan, where they all come from, and you get nobody off of that tree, not one person. And they're all great, innovative coaches at this moment.
I told you earlier about organizations that's trying to stay ahead of the game and be the way they run their organizations. Somebody should go in Jerry's office tonight and say, I got a report right here on this offense, these coaches, what they're doing. You need to look at this.
Someone we
Uh,
need to have someone in here that has a similar philosophy or that's innovative, because
Well, they can just, it's all in the report. They can just show them how many times they run a route and they have separation. That's all in the report. This offense is doing that. They just get receivers wide open, and also the
Mhm.
running
I'm about to
game.
say the running game is good too. It's a lot of
Yeah,
misdirection, but we don't have any of that.
and this person can also come in the office tonight, run that same report, and show him Kellen's offense. Whereas the Rams, the Vikings, the Packers, they didn't play that good yesterday. This is how much separation their receivers have on a week to week basis. So they're in the blue. Over here is Kellen's offense. All the
They're in the
columns are
red.
red.
Yeah.
That's because his receivers are not getting any separation. So which
Right.
which which coach would you bring in the interview if I gave you that report?
All the blue ones.
Okay, now I'm not making millions of dollars, and I just did that just sitting here.
Hmm.
But these are the kind of things they haven't done for 29 years. It's like, that's why I keep saying they're not doing these things for publicity, folks, to be the headlines on ESPN and all of that. These things are happening because they don't know what they're doing.
And it's like
That's it.
they refuse to listen and take advice from the other examples of teams that are doing this. The Eagles, they make the Eagles have twice as many star players on their team with big contracts than we do. And somehow they can go out and they can afford Saquon Barkley. But the Cowboys will want you to believe that we can't.
Mhm.
Somehow all these other teams are signing their players soon as they're eligible to be re-signed, and somehow we have to wait to the hour before the season starts.
So what you're talking about right there is the salary cap. There's a science to operating the cap. There's a way to do it to make it work. The Ravens, the Eagles,
The
the
Chiefs,
49ers, the Chiefs, they
the
understand how to
Eagles.
the Eagles, they understand how to manage the cap. There's a method to that madness. They have good cap people. I can show you that in a report. I can tell you this is what they've done over the last 10, 15 years. This is how they're managing their cap. Now, on this other report, this is how you're managing your cap, Jerry, Steven. They're in the blue.
Will.
Will, here's your cap for the last 10, 15, 20 years. You're in the red. So you're in the red is not good.
We're
The
gonna have to
blue,
create a segment called the report. Okay, that's
yeah.
what we're gonna do. The next episode is gonna be in the report. I got another report, and I'm gonna let you finish your report because go ahead, finish this one.
No, I'm done.
So the other report is drafting.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna have teams where in my report you're gonna have teams that draft well and they draft the best player available and they draft consistently good players, and then you're gonna
Mhm.
have other teams that draft people like Taco. You're gonna
Yeah.
have other teams that draft people like Boss Man Fat. What you're gonna see is those other teams, they're all blue, and us, we gonna be in the red.
Yeah. Then you can, that's all of this data and science is available to them, but
Mm,
they
yeah.
just are not doing it. Now, what they will tell you is that that's what they are doing, but just look at the results. You're the team that year in and year out, you're always complaining about the cap, pieces of the pie. We don't have enough pieces of the pie, cap allocation. The Ravens, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the 49ers, they're not concerned about that at all. They going out, they're signing, the Ravens, they needed a linebacker. The Ravens are a very conservative franchise. They don't
They
do a lot
needed
of trades.
they needed a running back.
They needed a linebacker. They made a trade for Roquan Smith, a brilliant trade. They didn't even give up a lot. They needed a running back. They just waited. They got Derrick Henry at a cheap price. The Kansas City Chiefs, whatever they need, they going to go get it. They had a cap space. The Eagles do it. The 49ers do it. The 49ers, we wake up, they don't went and traded for McCaffrey. They don't care nothing. They're not concerned about the cap because they know how to manage.
No one is.
The team at the Star, they are using the cap for publicity. I believe that. not in the right way. They love talking about the cap. They love coming on the air and oh, we got so many pieces of the pie. But what you got to understand is that they just don't know how to manage the cap. That's the problem.
Yeah, and then I'll do you one even better. You named a lot of people that manage the cap well. We can manage the cap better than they do because
Yeah,
it's public knowledge. You can look
yeah,
on over the, you can look on Spot Track, you can look on over the cap right now.
yeah. Or just follow Jeff Kavanaugh, Mike Fisher,
Brian Broaddus, just follow
Outlaw
them.
Cowboy.
Outlaw Cowboy.
I love Cowboy. You should follow him. He's like brilliant.
I do. I follow him, and he be spot on. And I learned a lot of things from him. I learned a lot of things from Jeff Kavanaugh. But these people will want you to believe that the cap is some secret science, and that they're the only ones that know how to run it. That's
Yeah.
just not true. They're the only ones that mismanage it. Right now, Micah should be signed. There's no reason why he shouldn't.
The reason that he's not signed is because they don't really know how to get the deal done. Number two, and a lot of this is really want to. Some of the things that we're talking about, they do know how to do them.
They just don't
So
want to.
they don't want to do it that way.
Mm-mm.
They don't really want to get these guys signed early because
Mm-mm.
if they do that, that basically means that they got to do the part B, which is take this money
And
and
utilize
figure
it.
out who to spend it on and how to get it.
And see, that blew up in their face this time. This time, they normally do that. But this time, everyone was like, huh, they waited last minute. And now all of a sudden, they have $25 million in free agency in cap space. But if they would have did this months ago, they could have used that $25 million and they could have signed Derrick Henry. So the excuse that they gave for not being able to sign people blew up in their face when we realized that the reason why they waited was because they wouldn't have to explain themselves, and when they did this. And so to me, I want to know what's going to happen this time. Is there going to be any way that they do this again? Because they're on record saying that they're going to, Steven came on the radio about a month and a half ago and said that next year is going to be similar to this year.
Well, and he got immediate reaction. So I think that kind of blew up in his face. So on this coaching front, kind of going back to that. So I think what we can probably say, if we're just reading the tea leaves, if we start seeing, and someone posted this tonight, I think it was Star. Shout out to Star, Stargazer. She's a great follow. Check her out.
Yes.
Stargazer Sports. She said that she wouldn't be surprised if a lot of coaches start turning down the interviews.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see coaches turning down the interviews, that basically means that what you and I are discussing, the agents for the coaches themselves, they understand that these people are not going to change the way they manage the cap. They understand that they're not going to get Michael signed early. Somebody like Aaron Glenn, I've been telling you, there's no way I would take the Jets job. I'm just not doing it. It's a poorly ran franchise. Okay. The Raiders, they got Tom Brady now, so they're gonna probably get things going on the right. They were a job that I probably wouldn't have taken, but
sound like you kind of switching over to me and Uncle Eric argument.
well, I think you and Uncle Eric, y'all have been winning the side of the argument here lately. Y'all are winning that now. My comeback is gonna be, if they just get lucky and hire a Dion or they hire an Aaron Glenn, I still think that you can just use good hiring practices and end up hiring the right coach by default. You just don't even know in their case, they'll just get lucky and hire the right guy. So they might get lucky and hire LaFleur. They might get lucky and hire McConnell. We're watching him tonight in Minnesota. He's a brilliant coach. So, every clock is right twice a day. So I'm the guy that says at some point they got to get it right, and you and your Uncle Eric are like, it's not happening. So if you and your Uncle Eric are right, if your theory is correct, they're not going to be interviewing 10 coaches. It's not happening because
No.
the people that we're talking about, they're not coming here. They're not going to even want to interview. So part of your theory is going to be proven over the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Bill Belichick already said no. He said no today.
Well, I also heard today that Mike Vrabel wanted this job and would have absolutely taken this job over New England. Somebody would hire somebody
Mm.
that they said that today, and somebody that's really trusted with sourcing. They
That's
said
why
that Mike
Jane.
Vrabel, yeah,
Uh-huh.
they
That's why
said Mike
Jane said
Vrabel,
that.
yeah, she said that if he had the choice, he would have taken the Dallas job over New England.
Yep.
So, but that's the way he felt. Now, once he comes in and talks to them about the cap, talk to them about free agency, you can always interview and tell the people thanks but no thanks. So that's he might have actually done that. It ain't no guarantee that he would have taken a job once you get them in an interview and start talking to them. These interviews they're doing, it's going to go both ways. They're going to be interviewing the coach, but the coach is going to be checking them out too.
Yeah. They made a comment. Steven made a comment and said, if you can get ahead of these big contracts, you want to get ahead of them. Hats off to Micah. He's had conversations with Jerry and I, and that's what we want. We want guys who want to be here. Well,
Okay. So the pushback on that is if you get ahead of that contract and you free the money up, then what are you going to do with it?
yeah. And then getting ahead of it, you should have been you should have already done that. Let's see. How do y'all feel about the glamour coaching candidate being leaked to the media immediately?
So what I said about that, Kevin, a lot of times it's the agent that's doing that. It's not really the organization or the coach. It's the agent. So the agents would do that just to kind of get their candidate's name out there. We talked about publicity on this pod right here. So that's what that is. The agents are just doing that to get the coach's name out there. So that's what's happening there.
Yeah, I would have to say the same. And I would also think that, Jerry really, really wanted that to be out there because, I think that he's going to have to go on a tour of getting the fan base back on track. And I think that, he wants to do some things like draft Genty, put out there that he's hiring Dion and stuff like that because he understands that the fans are not on board right now.
So one thing we can mention too, and Mike Fisher reported this. He said that Jerry and some people in the organization, they didn't believe that they could sell Mike McCarthy to the fans again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the reasons they were leaning towards not bringing him back. So you got to believe if that's the case, hopefully they smart enough to know they can't sell Kellen to the fans. So to Kevin's point, if you start leaking out Dion, you can sell that to the fans. So it kind of gets the heat off of them for a few days if this Dion thing is floating around. So that publicity part, that's something that they probably are looking at. But eventually that'll just wear off because the truth will come out and it'll end up being, well, they really did just float this out. Dion was never really serious about taking a job. So yeah.
Or it'll be like, they talked to him about the head coaching vacancy, but it wasn't to be hired. It was just, talking about the vacancy.
Yeah.
So, as someone that he, gets advice from, because he said that too. He said that he listens to Dion. He said that Jerry did when he was interviewing Stephen A.
Yeah, and even John Gruden. John Gruden, the rumor is he wants to coach again. So John Gruden and his agent, they're going to leak his name out there to get his name out in the atmosphere. So that's going to be happening quite a bit. So it's the good thing is it'll be good content for all the content creators over the next 3 or 4 weeks. But yeah, they shouldn't be in a hurry to do anything. The playoffs, Super Bowl is what, February? Is it? They keep moving it back. Is it like the 6th?
I think so, yeah.
So they shouldn't be really interviewing. A lot of people, they can interview them now, but they should just basically be bringing people in.
Yeah, the people that we want them to interview, they still playing.
So that's Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. I heard that Nagy, the Kansas City coordinator, is kind of getting his name out there. He's not somebody that I would want to talk to.
Neither would I want to talk to Cliff Kingsbury.
I would interview him. I wouldn't necessarily. He wouldn't be somebody that would be on the top of my list. I probably would just bring him in. Same with Lincoln Riley. I think a lot of these people that we're talking about, I'm in the mindset anybody but Kellen. So if you wanted to bring Lincoln Riley in and end up hiring him, I mean, look, it's time to it's time for a sea change. The stuff that we've been doing for 29 years, it's not working. We don't need to be talking about Jason Witten or Kellen. Um, we don't Rich Basaccia. That's just a hire that you would do to try to set Jason Witten up to be the next head coach. So, some of this stuff. Here's what I would be saying to myself if I'm Cowboy fans. What would the Ravens do?
What
What
would
would
the
the
Chiefs do?
what would the 49ers do?
Mm-hmm.
What would the Eagles do? That's what we need to be doing.
No, real talk.
So,
And then
for,
as of late, what will Washington do?
yeah, and those teams, Kellen is getting some interviews. I don't think the 49ers or the Chiefs will interview Kellen for a head coaching job. Obviously, the Eagles have him in house. If they lose and they make a coaching change, I think they're going to go to social media and see what their fans are saying.
What about Jacksonville and New Orleans?
So Jacksonville is another job I'm not taking. Their front office is not good. New Orleans to me is like intriguing because they have a blueprint of kind of getting some things done. They did win a Super Bowl. When did they win it with Peyton?
The year of Katrina, so with 20,
It was
2007. Yeah, right. That's when they won, right? It was the year 2006.
Was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
2005, 2006, one of them years.
And they made it to a couple of NFC Championship games. So the New Orleans Saints, they don't have a goofy front office. So I was telling you last week, Aaron Glenn, that would be a perfect job for him.
Yeah.
He's talking to the Jets. I would not take that job. No.
Now, you also got. I heard that Byron Leftwich is interviewing.
I saw that. It's kind of frustrating. They talking about Dion and Mike. They talking about Dion and the Cowboys on ESPN at the halftime.
What they saying?
They showing Dion and talking about the Cowboy job. So that story is breaking. So whoever wanted to get that out there, kudos to them because they getting the mission accomplished. It might be Jerry doing it that's releasing that. Now, we talked earlier about some of this stuff they're doing. They're not doing it for marketing and publicity. This Dion thing, that's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
They just
Because I mean, I don't see Dion coaching here with Shador being in a bit going somewhere else. I don't see that.
Man, I want somebody to talk to Dion that really knows what they're talking about. So I haven't heard Dion on the record. I did see an interview he did where he said if he did coach in the NFL, it would be with his sons. But if Jerry Jones called Dion and said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about this job. I'm gonna turn everything over to you. We're gonna get everything worked out. I want you to be the coach." Deion Sanders, I don't think he turns this job down because he can't coach Shador.
Nah,
I just don't see that.
Me neither, especially if you can get Shiloh or somebody.
Oh yeah, they can get Shiloh. They got Shiloh going like in the 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be a slam dunk that he'll coach one of his sons. But yeah, the Cowboys going from 12 to 2 or 3. That's not happening. But Deion, I just want to hear him on record. And that's going to happen over the next few days, because he's trying to recruit.
Yeah.
So a lot of these recruits with NIL, they
gonna start pulling and hitting the portal.
Well, they're gonna start calling him, asking him like,
"How serious is this?"
Yeah. So that's what's gonna happen.
That's the first time you broke up all night. So repeat that part. They're gonna start calling him and saying what?
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up too. So they're gonna the NIL, they're probably gonna be calling Dion trying to see if this is true. So that's gonna probably get washed out in the next few days. So you ready to go ahead and wrap? Because our stream is kind of breaking up.
Yeah, we've been on for about an hour, so we can go ahead and wrap up. And so breaking news is brought to y'all. We know Mike McCarthy is out, so the search is on, and we're gonna be paying attention to it every day. It's gonna be a hot topic, so we'll be on it. So you all make sure you stay tuned so we can see to hear what we have to say about everything. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, and we'll be breaking news right along with the rest of them. So y'all have a good night. We're gonna go watch this game, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Peace.